In this video we're going to use Pythagoras' theorem to check if a triangle contains a right angle, and I've got two examples here. So the first thing I'm going to do is label my triangle side lengths A, B and C. I usually go with the shortest to longest, so the shortest side length in this triangle is 60 and then 60 centimetres, then the next shortest side length is the 90 centimetres, and the longest side length is 1 metre, and that is going to be labelled C. Now, before I start doing anything, I do need to make sure everything is in the same units. So 60 centimetres, 90 centimetres, and 1 metre would be 100 centimetres. So just make sure before you start doing anything that everything is in the same units. Now I'm going to write Pythagoras' theorem out. So Pythagoras' theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And Pythagoras' theorem only works for right angled triangles. So if we substitute in our side lengths and we find that Pythagoras' theorem doesn't work, that a squared plus b squared doesn't give us c squared, then we do not have a right angled triangle. So the first thing I'm going to do is find a squared, b squared and c squared. So a squared is going to be 60 squared, which is 3,600. B squared is going to be 90 squared, which is 8,100. And c squared is going to be 100 squared. So we're not going to do 1 squared because that's in metres and the other lengths are in centimetres. We have to do 100 centimetres. And that is going to be 1 with 4 zeros, so that's 10,000. And now I need to see if when I do a squared plus b squared, do I get c squared? We have to check if Pythagoras' theorem works. So a squared plus b squared is going to be 3,600 added to 8,100. And that gives us 11,700. So a squared plus b squared is equal to 11,700, and c squared is equal to 10,000. So a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared. And that means that this is not a right angled triangle. So we would say, no, this is not a right angled triangle. Or we could say, no, this triangle does not contain a right angle. And here is the important part. Because it does not obey Pythagoras' Pythagoras' theorem. This is the important part, telling us whether it obeys Pythagoras' theorem or not. So that's the first example. We saw that a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared. So it's not a right angled triangle. Example 2, we have this triangle here. So I'm going to start off by labelling my sides, A, B and C. They're all in centimetres, which is great. That means I don't need to change any of the units. So my shortest is going to be A, my median B, and my longest C. And I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem to help me decide if this is a right angled triangle. Pythagoras' theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So first I'm going to find a squared, b squared and c squared. So a squared, I'm going to use a calculator to do this question. So a squared is going to be 7.5 squared, which is 56.25. B squared is 18 squared, which is 324. And C squared is 19.5 squared, which is 380.25. And now I'm going to see if when I do a squared plus b squared, if I get c squared. So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared, which is going to be 56.25 added to 324. So I'm going to add these up. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 3. So you can see when we do a squared plus b squared, we get 380.25. And c squared is also equal to 380.25. So this triangle does obey Pythagoras' theorem. That means it is a right angled triangle. So we would say in our explanation, yes, this is a right angled triangle. Or we could say, yes, this triangle does contain a right angle or a 90-degree angle, because it obeys Pythagoras'